Hi, everybody. Oh, it says a poor connection. So oh no, now apparently it's all good. The joys of live videos, isn't it fun? Beth here from Access Paranormal. For this week's I Want to Know, back on board, it's all about the Faraday Cage. So I know it sounds really morbid, doesn't it? It's like building a cage to chuck all your enemies in. If only it was that simple. No, this is a very interesting type of device, I guess you could say. It's a type of I guess you could say like something that can be used within the paranormal, which we'll get into quite soon. But it was actually created by a guy called Michael Faraday. So a fair few investigators probably have heard of the Faraday cage before, which is totally fine. And have probably actually looked at even using them as well. Hi Kaz, hi Kat, good to see you guys. So Faraday cage, what actually is it? It sounds really morbid, like I said, but it's not as fun as that. So the Faraday cage is actually it's a device that is made of, it's got to have a metal mesh to it, a particular type of metal of some sort, and it's enclosure. So it doesn't actually have to be a cage at all. And that's just kind of the term that's been used, but it's actually something that encloses or is able to enclose in something. So it's a cage. It means sort of like it could be a box, it could be a pouch or something like that. Goodness gracious me. So that's one thing as well. Oh, brilliant. That's awesome, sweetheart. So yeah, it's literally just an encage. But the thing is though, with the Faraday cage or Faraday enclosure, I guess you could say, is that what it does is that if you ever to put a device or anything within it and it's fully enclosed, it will actually disperse any what they call EMP, electromagnetic pulse. And that could be anything from electricity to Wi-Fi to, magnetic fields, radio waves as well. Radio waves is a big thing, and that's why they start to become really interesting when it comes to paranormal investigating. So lots of all different stuff. The people in the UK call it radio flash, as far as when it comes to having interference regarding electrical equipment. Now EMP is all around the world. It can occur naturally, and it can occur man-made as well. So say for instance, naturally it can be something that is by solar flares. So a lot of people that are very sensitive to the whole spiritual side of stuff, they might feel or keep an eye on what's happening with solar flares. And it does interfere with electrical equipment. It's also man-made as well, which is a big reason why they call them preppers in the US. But people who are very, very cautious about anything happening about the end of the world or a World War III, where because all bombs have EMF in them, enormous amounts of EMF. So if a bomb was to go off high altitude, it would wipe out all the electrical equipment directly underneath it. And so, of course, that would make it a very effective weapon in that regard, regardless of loss of life and anything as horrible as that. So that's another thing as well to keep in mind. A lot of people like to know if they can actually prep their home and use what is the science known as Faraday, which was, like as I mentioned before, it was created by a gentleman named Michael Faraday in 1836. And that is something that a lot of people actually want to do with their homes. There are people that are also very sensitive to EMF or EMP. So having a way to be able to shield their homes from EMF naturally occurring could be really, really, really nice for them, I can imagine. There's a company in the US, I only read this recently, that have actually developed a type of metallic enclosed like paint that you can actually paint your house with it. So it's literally shielding your whole house. And there are people that have looked at having something like that for their cars as well. So there are people that are really either very sensitive or very paranoid. So keeping that in mind as well. So Faraday cage is literally an enclosure that will actually disperse EMP. And of course, when it comes to the paranormal, why are we so interested in something like that? Well, the reason being is the fact that for two different parts generally. Firstly, there's the thoughts of the possible spirit realm either manipulating or providing EMF. So if you block it off from, say for instance, if you had a Faraday cage and you were to put your microphone in there, or if you were to put a ghost box or SB11 or SB7 in there, it would shield it. And if you were to have recorded any possible voices, then it makes it a little bit interesting. But of course, if the spirit realm is to give up and give away EMF or EMP, then if you were to still record possible voices, then, you know, that kind of leads further into why we're so leaning into EMF or EMP. So that's one, I think that's a whole other I want to know in that altogether. So there's that. And also at the same time, there's what my sister would do, and she taught me about this, is the fact that she would put just a microphone in a Faraday cage. So there is no chance of any stray radio waves of any way, shape or form. Because a lot of people will say, well, you know, you can say, I think I've caught a voice on here. And someone says, well, that could be a stray, you know, two-way radio or something. And that can happen. It absolutely can happen. But if it's sitting in a Faraday cage that is sealed and you've got a camera on there and you're recording the whole thing, then that could be something really interesting. You know, there's got to be another reason why that voice, what sounds like a voice, appeared in your recording as well. So a lot of people in the paranormal will use it as a way to eliminate any sort of music or voices or anything like that come out, because, you know, it can, you know, our audible pareidolia, we're all human, we're all going to try and find ways in which we can make sense of any sound that comes through. So being able to actually eliminate that, it's a process of elimination, being able to have it in an enclosure that actually cuts that out and disperses that. So then if you do get something, it leads to further investigation, makes things a little more interesting as well. Oh, wonderful. Hey, Karen. Hey, Kenneth. So yeah, that's the other thing too. So it's a general reason why people in the paranormal tend to use Faraday cages. So of course, sounds pretty interesting, I must admit, like being able to put your ghost box in there, your Frank's box in there, and be able to have not the annoying sounds or music or anything like that you know is radio, and then trying to listen really hardly to find whether or not something's coming through is a nice feeling, isn't it, to be able to not have that. So, and of course, there are quite a few different distributors that actually already have pre-made ones. So if you're feeling a little fancy pants, you can actually go and buy them. I think DAS has them, DAS, DAS Diagnostics. A Ghost Stop as well, I think, might have them. There's one called Gotcha Ghost. I think they've got little pre-made Faraday cages as well. But of course, not all of us are rolling in cash as much as we may love to be able to do so. So, and a lot of the stuff that we do when it comes to investigating, we do off our own back from our own income. So one way to be able to create one, and it's very, very, very simple. So the first thing you need is aluminium foil. Now, apologies to my American friends, you call it aluminum, I know, so you're gonna have to bear with me with my accent. So aluminium foil is the best. Really, really good. It's as I said, very, very cheap to get. Most households has it. I've even got it in my kitchen. How's that? So yes, very good. Also packing tape as well, because you're actually going to be using it to tape it around a particular enclosure. I would suggest probably using a cardboard box. That would be the best one. A semi-good size, not too big, not too small, but just enough. Think of the things that you might want to be using it for, whether it's 2 devices, 3 devices, whatever you want to try and test out. I would I'd pick a box of that particular size, and what you do is when you cover it, you cover all of the box. Now, I'm not talking like reams and reams and, you know, over and over sort of thing. It just needs to be sure that you've covered everything. So no cardboard box showing in any way, shape or form. If you have to go over twice, that's fine. We probably wouldn't go 2 more than that. But if it has to be a double round of aluminium foil all around it, then so be it. As I said, tape it all up as well. Make sure you've got a lid for your box too. Have to have a lid because you need to be able to seal it. So, and again, aluminium, out of it. So like literally just make sure you've got the same consistency across it is something that you can test it too, which is really good. So you can have your ghost books, you know, scanning through the frequencies. You know, you can put it within this particular homemade device, and actually, you know, put the lid on it. And if you don't hear any more radio waves or any radio stations, then you know it's working. So that's always a good way to test whether or not it's actually sufficient enough to be able to use in an investigation as well. But like I said, my sister would literally just put a microphone in there and not even have the ghost box running as well. And that was a way to be able to test whether or not anything that came through couldn't be anything stray from the atmosphere as well. So that's a really, really, really great way to be able to do it. I mean, some people have used bird cages. They've just literally just, you know, aluminium, you know, bird cage stuff. Anything that can be enclosed, that's... I guess for me, I always think of something portable as well. You want to be able to take it to another room. I personally would like to make a couple of them, and I have them dotted around a location as well to test it out instead of just focusing on one room. So again, it's got to be something that's got to be economical as well. So keep that in mind too. But there's a couple of tips too. So yeah, Faraday cage, really, really interesting idea. A lot of investigators do it. A lot of investigators use it. But that's another really sort of economical way for you to create your own and get started, and it'd be really interesting to see your results. So if you have tried it, if you've known people that have tried it, if you've actually made one yourself and it's even more whiz-bang than my advice, use the comment section down below, and I'd love for you to let me know and let everyone else know as well. So thanks for watching, guys. Do take care until next week.